recorded. This is the Red Ticket Blues podcast. I am Brian Buckley. This is being released on June 30th, 2016. How the hell is everybody doing? Oh, you can be better? Well, I have a solution for you. If you want to listen to the rest of the Red Ticket Blues podcast, well, you can find them on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play. Hey, got guests like Steve Summers, John Jastrzemski, Ken Davidoff, Phil Mushnick. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So check those out. And it's another edition of the Thursday Talk podcast. We have a guest. And hey, we're presented by Seat Swap Tickets. Now, last week, I dropped a little knowledge on their behalf for you. Dropping knowledge is what I do. If there's one certainty in this world, it's that life will deliver you an untimely kick right straight in the nuts. And it'll ruin even your best laid plans. And a lot of the time, those plans include sitting courtside at MSG games or watching the Boss play in the swamps of Jersey. So what do you do at that point? Well, your options kind of suck. I mean, in reality, you can try and sell them for 30% of what they're worth on the secondary market. You can give them away to your friend or your client, or you can eat them. And no one likes eating money. Unless you're a politician, then you're eating someone else's money. So it's practical that way. But in situations like this, seat swap tickets, well, that's why they exist in the first place. I mean, they connect you with other fans just so you can trade and swap your tickets like you were doing with baseball cards, your Pokemon cards, or Pogs. Remember Alf? He's back in Pog form. So it's basically like playing fantasy sports, but with your event tickets. The best part is you're able to turn your seats into another event you want to see. So no more dealing with shady brokers or bots. I mean, they're a community more concerned with getting fans like you to more of the events than they are with taking the vig off the top like some other sites. It doesn't matter what kind of fan you are. Seat Swap, they're there for you. They'll help you make the deal that works best for you. You want to trade your Mets games to go see Hamilton with your wife? That's exactly the kind of thing that Seat Swap does. And because Seat Swap was founded by a couple of guys, they're happy to be proud members of the Mongo Nation. Well, they're offering Red Ticket Blues listeners exclusive access to their private beta before they roll it out to the public. Yes. I mean, these guys, they're so committed to personally, meeting each and every person interested in using Seat Swap. They're even letting me give their personal information to the world. Okay. They said you can send them anything you want as long as it's legal. Let's take it easy, guys. All right. So if you're interested in getting to know what Seat Swap is all about, or if you just want to BS about New York sports, why not? You can just reach Dan at seatswaptickets.com or Josh at seatswaptickets.com. Just remember, they're the only place on the web, the entire internet, even the deep web. You won't even be able to find it there. The dark web, all of it. You can't do it. Where you can safely swap tickets and other fans. It's seatswaptickets.com. That's seatswaptickets.com. And if you didn't hear me before, listen up. It's seatswaptickets.com. So, thank you to SeatSwap, our partner. We love them. This week's guest, Scott Reinen, who is the founder of BronxPinstripes.com. Scott is a guy who knows his Yankees, so we talk about this current Yankee team, how we got the site up in the first place, and how we grew this community to what it is right now. And, some of it's negative, as we know how the Yankee season is going, but I think we try to be as positive as we possibly can, after winning so many championships and then having a down year. Boo-hoo, right? Well, let's get to Scott, presented by SeatSwapTickets.com. He is the founder of the Yankee fan community site, Bronx Pinstripes, Scott Reinen. Scott, thank you for coming on the Red Ticket Blues podcast.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.
So, appreciate you being here. I got to ask you, though, did you stay up till 2:14 a.m. to watch this Yankee disaster unfold early this morning?
No, I absolutely did not stay up till 2:14 a.m. And there's a reason for that, is because as soon as I saw Girardi come out and take the ball from Chapman, I knew most likely Kirby Yates was coming in whenever they restarted this, and it wasn't going to be pretty. And I don't think I could have predicted how bad it got, but I didn't think they were going to come away with the win after that. So, no, I actually did not. I read our recap first thing in this morning.
I stayed up till about 12:30. And then I said, I had enough of the Yankee fluff pieces of, Aroldis Chapman becoming a citizen and, Jack Curry playing basketball at CC Sabathia. I can only take so much. And, I didn't think it was going to be a great outcome. I'm kind of echoing your sentiment there. I didn't have any idea it would have been this bad. Hitting 3 batters.
Crazy.
Now I don't want to overreact because I normally overreact, but this was one game. Was this a backbreaker last night to a great team, one of the best teams in the Major League Baseball? I mean, this team's always hovering a little below, a little above, right at 500. Was this a backbreaker, or should I just, stay calm?
Well, see, that's exactly the reason why I don't think we have backbreakers this season. We haven't really had anything that's been backbreaking, because what happens is we break our back multiple times, and then we come back and we'll win 6 games in a row, and then they'll break their back again. So this team has been, I've been calling them all season like it's like the early season of Michael Pineda was Jekyll and Hyde. This is a bipolar team. One day they're on their meds and they're all good. The next day completely off, no idea what's going to happen. So it's one of those things where you just kind of want them to choose one way or the other so that we can get some resolution to the season. I've
been saying this all probably basically the entire season. I've been saying the same thing. I kind of gotten crap from people saying, how can you not root for the Yankees? Well, this it's tough watching some of these games. I mean, 1 run, 4 hits, little difficult. Before we get into more of the team, I want to know, and the world wants to know a little bit more about you. So, I mean, let's see. How did your Yankee fandom actually go into? How did it go from that to saying, well, I'm going to start Bronx Pinstripes?
Man, it was actually because I had no intentions on in starting a site like Bronx Pinstripes the way it's become. It originally started out as a site 6 years ago called NYY Universe, and I got a nice little letter from MLB Advanced Media saying, "Hey, that's too close to a Yankee trademark." So that's actually when we switched our name. I think it was 3 years ago, but it started because I went to school and met my wife outside the tri-state area, and I wanted a way to keep up with the team a little bit more closely. I've been a fan obviously my entire life and relatively obsessed. So that's how it started. It was just me writing and making really crappy graphics and trying to get people to follow me on social media.
You don't use social media that much. Your personal Twitter, you got a lot of followers. You don't ever really tweet that often, though.
I know. Well, a lot of them are actually they're from a few different things. I used to have a show called Behind Sports, and a lot of people followed me on that. I used to do interviews with people who worked in sports too. So I've really moved towards mostly tweeting from Bronx Pinstripes, just because during the Yankee season, that's usually where I am anyway. I'm watching games and tweeting. So it's hard to find the time, in all honesty, to tweet from different accounts all the time and to throw all my personal thoughts out there. It's just I don't know. It's just one of those things that I do it when I think about it, and sometimes you'll see me tweet in spurts.
Right. We're around the same age. I'm 35 years old. Been rooting for the Yankees my whole life, like that. Like you mentioned, you had. Were you sort of pushed into rooting for the Yankees like myself and confused, because at the time, they kind of sucked?
I don't think I was confused or pushed into it. For whatever reason, I think when you're a young kid, usually it's either influence from a family member, like you're saying. I'm sure that's what you're talking about.
Yep, my father.
I actually didn't have that influence. The influence from my father wasn't there as far as a Yankee fan, because he's not really a big Yankee fan. My grandfather was a Yankee fan, so that could be it now that I'm thinking about it more. But he used to take me. He had a season tickets, a Sunday ticket, so we would go to the games on Sundays. On occasion when he had a ticket available. But, I got behind Don Mattingly, and for whatever reason, Willie Randolph, I think I had heard stories about Willie Randolph, because I never really saw him play to my recollection. I was too young at that time. But, I think I really latched on to Don Mattingly. Like, he was my guy. So I think he really pushed the fandom to another level.
We were just talking before we started recording, and, I live in Connecticut, and, growing up around 86, 87, I could have easily gone for the bandwagon and been a Red Sox fan. But, yeah, my father pushed me to the right side, so he knew what he was doing.
Well, that's good. Good job on Dad.
Anybody who listens to my podcast knows that I listen to the Bronx Pinstripe podcast all the time for Yankee news. You and your co-host, Andrew Rotondi, you guys do a great job. And I have to ask you, though, I mean, do you almost wish that you were doing the podcast from like the years of 96 to 2001? Or do you think the constant questions of mediocrity and small controversy bring a little more to the table in your mind?
Man, it's always more fun to talk about a winning team. I can tell you that, because, we find ourselves sometimes, when we're, especially this season, when it's literally the same story every week, it seems like, where, you can't get too excited for the highs You can't get too down on the lows, and you're kind of stuck in like a purgatory at that point. But the fact that they're not winning as much right now definitely makes it more difficult. I can only imagine what it would have been like at that point in 96 to be talking about it, or at least it being in my body now, knowing what I know now, but having a team like the 96 team. I think that's better to put it, because in 96, when I was 16, I would have been a bumbling idiot on this on a show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new wave, because I see some really good things happening in the minors, and I think these kids have some, not only their ability to play ball on the field, but it seems to me, and this is just my intuition, I guess, and just kind of looking at them, but it seems like they have some very good mental makeup on some of these kids. It seems like a lot of their heads are squared on or screwed on tightly under their shoulders. So I'm excited for the next few years.
Yes, I guess this is a decent segue into that, and I agree with you. You got a new crop ready to come up. You have sort of the aging, parts of the past still hovering. So back to this current team. We're doing this Tuesday morning after the debacle last night. The Yankees are 37-38, and they're hovering. They're hovering at mediocrity. We're still just a month away from the trade deadline. Are they sellers on this day, June 28th?
Well, if you ask the Yankees front office, they're not sellers, because
of course not.
I don't know what it was yesterday. As of Sunday, they were 2.5 games back in the wild card. I don't know where that is right now, if it's 3 games or 3.5 games, or even if it's moved. But either way, there's 6 teams ahead of you. There's 6 teams ahead of the Yankees. So that 2.5 games is actually a lot larger than it seems, because there's a lot of people that we would have to leapfrog to get into that spot, and division rivals also. So there's a lot of things to consider. I personally want them to sell at least some of their assets. The ones that, like, to me, Chapman's an obvious sell. The guy is not controlled anywhere past this year. He's probably, one of the most dominant closers right now. I'd say Andrew Miller is right there with him, excluding last night. But he can get you something. Granted, he's a rental, but there are teams, the Nationals, the Giants, are looking for back of the Cubs, are looking for back of the bullpen help, and obviously Chapman's a guy that will be looked at. So yeah, I want to build to the future. That's where my head's at right now.
They are 3 games out of the wild card, and it feels like this team's like 20 games out of first place. But I mean, 3 out of the 5 teams in the AL East lose last night. And for the team on fire that started the season, the Boston Red Sox, the Yankees are only 3.5 games behind them, which is insane. Is anyone untouchable on this team? I mean, you mentioned Chapman, you mentioned Miller. Is there anyone that maybe Cashman says, well, we're going to get rid of McCann or somebody of that ilk? Is anyone untouchable?
I see are untouchable are the middle infield. They're not going anywhere. Didi and Castro are going to be here for a long time, and I don't think they're going to be getting rid of Betances either. Other than that, no, I don't think anybody's untouchable. I think literally everybody is on the table. That's the way I would go about it. In all honesty, I would save the kids unless some blockbuster came around and the name Jose Fernandez came about. Then I would start looking into the minor leagues at some of these guys, but. Other than that, no, I think it's everybody on this team besides the middle infield and Betances.
You're just talking about Chapman, and one of the writers on the Bronx Pinstripe site there, Tom Hanson. Tom's a good guy. I follow him on Twitter, so this is nothing against him. He's only reporting the news, saying that the Yankees have been impressed by the demeanor and the way he's handled himself in Aroldis Chapman, and they may re-sign him. Now, to me, I don't see why you'd want to. He's good. He hasn't been amazing. Is he worth the large contract he's going to pick up, or am I just being naive, or maybe not naive is not the right word. Am I just being too hard on him and just comparing everyone to Mariano Rivera?
The ultimate standard, right? To compare.
Yeah, exactly. To. So I think I'm being unfair to people. Like when I see him blow a save, like, look at this shit. How did this guy do this? This guy can't pitch. It's really unfair to people.
Well, and the other thing to think about as well is because we're in the New York market and because the New York Yankees have always been a spectacle. Now that Aroldis Chapman is in the 9th inning, there brings a lot of that spectacle back to the 9th inning in the sense that this guy comes in to rage against the machine, throws 100+ miles per hour. He gets people excited. People in New York like that type of fanfare. And when you have a guy that is, I mean, he is one of the most dominant closers in baseball. There's no doubt about it. I still think that, once that velocity starts dipping as he gets older in age, he's not going to be as effective because I don't think his secondary
What
pitches.
is he? What is he at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I think he's going to have to capitalize, as for the short term, just to get as much money as he possibly can, which scares me for the Yankees talking about re-signing him. But again, they're thinking about other things as well. They're thinking about ticket sales. They're thinking about marketing. And honestly, if I'm looking at it on that side of the coin, I mean, this dude he will bring people into the stadium. There's no doubt about it.
Randy Levine says tickets on paper now are obsolete, by the way, just in case you were wondering. He let the world know about tickets and how stupid all the writers were yesterday. So
yeah,
that was interesting to hear.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. I appreciate you telling us that. Now you'll accept our paperless tickets. It's good.
Speaking of articles, I want to know if you read the Joel Sherman piece from New York Post, obviously, last weekend concerning Teixeira and A-Rod and how it might be time to buy them out. I mean, he cited the Rockies and the Dodgers for, buying out Reyes and Carl Crawford. Now, Teixeira, I mean, I, like many, was piling tons of dirt on his Yankee grave only, a few weeks ago. He's come back, he's hit a few home runs, but, he also did that at the beginning of the season, too, where he said, oh, wow, look, it's April, and he's producing. And then that quickly fell off. So where is your head at with this hypothetical dump of these guys? I'll let you answer. I don't know the point of dumping Teixeira in the last year of the contract. And A-Rod, it would be a bad idea in the middle of the season. He's a clubhouse guy and he's a fan favorite. I could see something like that happening in the off season, though.
With you, the Teixeira thing, at this point, you might as well just see what you can get. Obviously,
Exactly.
He's trying to play out this contract. He's in a contract year. He's trying to get as much value as possible, or at least saving as much value as possible, just because of his early season just disaster. 2 home runs in the last couple of games. So there's signs of him obviously more healthy, and I think you got to ride him out, see what you can get for him. Now, A-Rod, on the other hand, drives me nuts. I can't stand watching him play baseball anymore. To me, he's an empty uniform. I'm glad that they're finally only playing him versus lefties at this point, and I hope that continues. But he can't hit right-handed pitching anymore. He's guessing fastball, but guess what? Nobody's giving you the fastball that you're looking for anymore. They're throwing him a steady diet of breaking stuff and usually breaking stuff away. So I don't know. I think he's completely done, and he's hurting the team at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the bench now. I mean, he sat 2 straight games, and he even heard the quotes from A-Rod yesterday saying, well, I'm completely healthy. I just want to get back. He's saying all the right things, which he has a history of not saying the right things. So that's good out of A-Rod. Now, I mean, yesterday Francesa was alluding to – well, Francesa doesn't actually allude to anything. He just says it. It being more of an issue of Beltran not being able to play right field. That's why A-Rod's sitting. They compare Hicks to A-Rod. They both stink, but Hicks can play a position. Is this about Beltran, or is this just sort of a day-by-day thing and the media is making it more than it actually is?
Partly because they want to see what Hicks has still. I mean, if we haven't seen enough of him, I don't know. This guy, he cannot.
I don't get.
He can't hit.
He stinks.
He can't hit. He's a physical specimen that can't play baseball. I mean, that's it. I got so annoyed with the 105 mile an hour ball from outfield. Like, who cares? Great. He threw the ball hard one time. Awesome. He can't do anything else. But he even can't play the outfield very well, in my opinion. I mean, he does not track balls very well. He takes horrible routes to fly balls. Anyway, the fact that Beltran should honestly be our everyday DH is something that I think most people can see, and I think that's where he should be. The fact that A-Rod is holding him out of that spot, and whether it's Aaron Hicks or Rob Refsnyder's bat every day and putting him in right field type of deal, yeah, he's hurting the team. And I think obviously we know what Beltran is this season. I mean, the guy has had a completely amazing resurgence. He's been phenomenal. He's been by far the best hitter on the Yankees, and they need that bat in every day. And to me, he's more effective as a DH, saves his legs. I mean, he's not a good outfielder anymore. So let's, that would be the ultimate spot, was putting him at DH and then, platooning right field.
I can't believe during the middle of a 6-1 game and they throw the graphics up of Aaron Hicks' fastest throws from the outfield. That doesn't get you pumped up.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. It's like they're just trying to show anything good about this guy. And yes, it's great. Well, we need some help in the middle relief. So let's put him on the mound and see if he can throw that over the plate.
Maybe he won't hit 3 guys like Kirby Yates.
Yes, sir. I mean, it couldn't be much worse.
Let's quickly talk about some of your Yankee man crushes because you have a few of them.
Yeah.
You talk about them on the Bronx Pinstripe podcast. Let's get the ugly out of the way, all
Uh,
right? Nathan Eovaldi. Now this is your boy. You've went to bat for him. You've went to the mattresses for him several times. I hate to pile on him because it seems like in a season like this, Yankee fans find a guy and they pile on him. Like we piled on Chase Headley. And last year we piled on Steve and Drew. And it's not just because they have, characterless faces. It's just they're not producing anything. And earlier it was Michael Pineda, and now it seems to be shifting a little bit to Nathan Eovaldi. So, I mean, his ERA is at 5.19 now. Last five starts, he's given up 4 or more runs. You, Scott Reinen, have you given up on Nathan Eovaldi?
I actually did use my personal Twitter account the other day. I don't know if you saw this, but I tweeted out the scene where Michael comes to Fredo and says, you broke my heart, because that's how I feel with Nathan Eovaldi. I felt like I have given him everything that I possibly could. I swear I've even given him good advice over this. God help him if he doesn't listen to the show, because the fact that they keep telling me that he's lost the feeling for the splitter drives me mad. It really does. It drives me crazy. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can lose a feel for a pitch that, one, you lose a feel for this pitch for a month and a half or a month plus. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. Get the feel back then, brother. Figure it out.
You lose the feel of part of your job.
It's unbelievable. And Nathan Eovaldi's success is contingent on the splitter being effective and down in the zone. There's no doubt about it. That's his bread and butter. It was a new pitch that he developed last year. Thank you to Larry Rothschild. It's not really Larry Rothschild's fault. He's given him the keys to the car. Eovaldi's just not driving it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. This guy is he's not getting better, and he gets better and then loses it, and I don't understand that. To me, that doesn't make sense. So, it seems like the scapegoat, like you said, has been just kind of bouncing off people. Hopefully Eovaldi can come back and find the success he did in May, because he was really good in May. When he was good, he was really good. And it's even more frustrating when you see the potential.
I almost feel like it to go to another gangster movie. I feel like it's, with Paulie and Henry Hill and Goodfellas, and, he throws him the wad of cash and says, now I got to turn my back on you. I feel like that's the way you're reacting with Nathan Eovaldi.
Yep, I could have gone with either clip. You're absolutely right. It's it's on him now, man. He's got to make the adjustment at this point.
Let's go to another. I won't say great, but better of your man crushes. That's Rob Refsnyder. Now he's actually appeared in 21 games this year in June, 4 more than all of last year, and he's playing. He's playing decent, 286 batting average, OPS 732. Okay, he's not an all-star, but he's processing nicely. Teixeira has sort of blocked his path, but he's producing now, so you can't get really mad at Mark Teixeira. We'll do that when he starts not producing soon.
Yeah, give it a week.
Yeah, exactly. Or some sort of broken leg or something will happen with Mark Teixeira, and he'll give us a bodily percentage of how hurt he is. So I'm looking forward to that. But we know how quickly he can turn to garbage, obviously. So do you worry that Girardi and Cashman are going to send him down again for some inexplicable reason, or do you think he's here to ride it out for the rest of 2016?
Yeah, I'd like to think that he's here to ride it out, but obviously anything can happen. The fact that you mentioned that Refsnyder is being blocked now by Mark Teixeira is something that I don't think anybody possibly could have called, right? I mean, he was blocked last year by Brendan Ryan and Stephen Drew, and it was driving me insane the entire year. I mean, Andrew and I were screaming at the top of our lungs since I think last May to get this kid on the team and keep him on the team. But a lot of things, like you mentioned, he's hitting well. He's doing well. He's hitting 286, you said. The fact that he's doing that with sporadic at bats, I think, is even more impressive. I mean, get this guy some time in there, get him into a nice solid groove. You're going to see much better results as well. But yeah, I think he's earned his spot finally. I think he's being recognized for having that versatility in the field, and they know what he is at the bat. I mean, he's a right-handed bat who grinds out at bats, who makes a lot of contact, hits for average, which is there are not very many guys in this lineup that actually hit for average. And And yeah, so I think he's kind of carved himself out as a utility guy. And to me, the big problem for them was always his fielding, and I've just really never seen an issue with his fielding. And we saw some blunders at third when he was in spring training towards the end of spring, but I think that experiment went by the wayside, and they're now putting him in right field, second base, and first, and he's performed well.
So yeah, I agree with the fielding stuff. He must have just been atrocious in the minor leagues for the always there's be a concern regarding the fielding. I mean, he's not Brooks Robinson, but I mean, I don't know. I've never really seen anything where I've just said, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, right. We haven't had any Nunez moments, right? With
no,
him
exactly.
that I can
no
remember.
Nooney.
Yeah.
So Scott, to close this podcast, let's say in pure unadulterated sports talk banter, gun to your head, give us the 2016 New York Yankees final record.
Oh boy. I mean, I don't know how I can go anywhere. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say 83 wins. I'll give them a couple
just
over.
Going over.
Yeah, but that's being very optimistic in my opinion, and I think a lot of it has to do with what happens at the trade deadline. And to tell you the truth, I could honestly see a scenario where the Yankees go and they sell some of their assets, bring up some kids, and all of a sudden you start seeing a shift in attitude, a shift in momentum with kids starting to play together and well. I mean, we've seen this in the past with younger teams where all of a sudden younger teams start getting hot, and then these guys start believing in themselves and they start gelling very well. I could actually see them playing better with younger parts, to tell you the truth, and more consistently. Maybe that's just me being very optimistic, and I do tend to go on that side. But yeah, let's say 83 wins.
Scott, don't you remember? Randy Levine told us that they're not going to be sellers, and people that think that you're just stupid with nonsense. Don't you remember that?
Yeah, we're all not very smart people. I know that. We don't deserve to sit in the seats. We're not smart. We don't know how to use tickets. We've heard this many times.
Tickets. So, Scott, I want to thank you for coming on. Before you leave, to play us out, I have 3 quick questions for you. You ready?
Alrighty.
All right. Number 1, what is the most crushing Yankee playoff loss for you as a fan?
I have 2. I can't depict between the 2 of them. So it was 95. The Seattle game was just gut wrenching for me at that time because I told you before that I'm a big Mattingly guy. That was kind of his last hurrah, and that one hurt badly. And for very different reasons, 2001 was absolutely crushing as well. That was the year that they had to win the World Series. That was the year that it was the first year that the entire country was behind the New York Yankees, and the fact that little bloop went over Jeter's head off of Mo was also extremely tough to handle. But yeah, I'd say those 2.
And Tim McCarver called that little bloop too. But I have to say 95, I was at game 2, the one where Mattingly and Ruben Sierra went back to back and Liritz hit the home run the 15th. I don't know. I feel, just going to that game, that special connection to that series, and Jack McDowell throwing that pitch and Griffey running around the bases and smiling, it just makes me sick.
Yeah, the Mariners that year, that was a bad year.
Number 2, what is the best Yankee book you've ever read?
Best Yankee book. I'd have to say the 61 book was to me, one of the good ones. And I really enjoyed reading the biography of Yogi Berra. I'd say so. Yogi is probably my favorite, just because I think he's such an interesting character.
Very good. And number 3, which Yankee player, past or present, do you despise more than anyone else?
Man, Yankee player that I despise. Stephen Drew's up there. I really, and I think it's really not his fault, because I think he was thrown into a role that he shouldn't have been in.
He's just not good. Yeah.
He would have been a good utility guy. I just don't think it was man, that's a tough one. I don't even know if I really despise anybody. I never really could get around. I'll give you this one. I could never really get my head around Johnny Damon being a Yankee. While I don't despise him, because he was a big part of some big games, I just could never wrap my head around him being a Yankee. And I think he's the only one that made that transition that I could never really wrap my head around. So he was the most weird one to me, I guess I'll say. But I don't really have too much animosity towards any one player, I guess.
Hands down, number one for me, Kyle Farnsworth. I've had enough of him for a lifetime.
See, the thing was with these guys, with the hard throwers, and this is probably why I like Eovaldi.
He's got great stuff.
Yeah, potential. I'm a sucker for potential.
He's Scott Reinen, Bronx Pinstripes, BronxPinstripes.com. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Scott Reinen, and follow the Bronx Pinstripes at Bronx Pinstripes. Listen to the podcast on iTunes. Is there anything else we need to plug here for the Bronx Pinstripes?
No, definitely just check us out. We have a fan shop now too, so with some great tees that I do most of the designs in there. So definitely check those out. It's all non-licensed stuff by the fans. So yeah, Brian, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on the Red Ticket Blues podcast, and go Yankees, right?
Definitely, hopefully.
There he is, everyone. Scott Reinen of the Bronx Pinstripes. Remember to check out all the avenues of the Bronx Pinstripes. Hey, you may not like all the things that Scott and I had to say about the Yankees, but we're being practical, we're being realistic. Deal with it. I'm sorry. It's just deal with it. Hope everyone enjoyed that. Remember, you can always listen to the rest of the Red Ticket Blues podcast shows on iTunes, TuneIn, Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and Google Play. And hey, follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at Red Ticket Blues. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Leave a review if you haven't already. And with all that being said, I'm out of here.